You're driving home from the range. Red and blue lights flash behind you. Your heart starts pounding because you know you have your firearm in the car. The officer walks up and asks the question that makes thousands of gun owners panic every single day. Do you have any weapons in the vehicle? What you say in the next 5 seconds could be the difference between going home safely or spending the night in handcuffs, even if you've done nothing wrong. Before we dive in, do me one favor right now. Hit that subscribe button. Why? Because 73% of gun owners have no idea what their actual rights are during a police stop, and one wrong word can turn a routine traffic stop into a legal nightmare. I don't want you to be one of them, so click subscribe and let's make sure you're protected. Here's what most gun owners do wrong. They panic, they start rambling. They say things like, well, yes, officer, I have a gun, but it's legal, I have a permit, it's in the glove box, it's unloaded. Well, actually, it's loaded, but the safety's on. Sound familiar? That verbal diarrhea just gave the officer reasonable suspicion to search your entire vehicle. You just waived rights you didn't even know you had. And here's the kicker. You were trying to be helpful and cooperative. But in the eyes of the law, you just gave away your Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches. Let me break down exactly what's happening in that moment. When an officer asks if you have weapons, they're not just making conversation, they're gathering information. Every word you say can and will be documented in their report. That report can be used against you later, even if you're a lawful gun owner with a valid concealed carry permit. Your words can create probable cause where none existed before. Think about that. You can literally talk yourself into a situation where the officer now has legal justification to search your car, detain you longer, or even arrest you if they find anything else they don't like. Now here's the part that shocks most people. You are not legally required to answer that question in most states. Let me say that again because it's crucial. In the majority of states, you do not have to tell an officer you have a gun unless your state has a specific duty to inform law. And even in duty to inform states, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. The wrong way is what we just talked about, that panicked rambling. The right way is what I'm about to show you. So what are those 5 magic words? Here they are. I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. That's it. 5 words. But wait, there's more to this, and I need you to understand the full picture before you use this. The Fifth Amendment protects you from self-incrimination. It means you cannot be forced to say anything that might be used against you in a legal proceeding. This applies during traffic stops. This applies during police encounters. This applies any time you're dealing with law enforcement. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of you are thinking, wait, won't that make me look guilty? Won't that make the officer suspicious? Here's the truth that nobody talks about. Officers deal with people who know their rights every single day. Professional criminals invoke their rights constantly. But you know who doesn't? Law-abiding citizens who end up in legal trouble because they thought being chatty and friendly would help them. The officer's job is not to be your friend. Their job is to investigate, document, and enforce the law. You can be respectful and polite while still protecting your rights. Let me give you a real-world example of how this plays out. Hypothetical scenario. John is driving through Ohio with his legally owned handgun in his center console. He has a valid concealed carry permit. He gets pulled over for a broken taillight. The officer asks, "Do you have any weapons in the vehicle?" John says, "I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights." The officer says, "Sir, are you refusing to cooperate?" Here's what John says next, and this is important. "Officer, I respect your work and I'm happy to provide my license, registration, and insurance. However, I'm exercising my constitutional right to remain silent regarding any other questions. Professional, respectful, but firm." Now, quick legal note, and this is important. This is educational information, not legal advice. Every situation is different. Every state has different laws. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. I'm giving you general principles that apply broadly, but you need to know your local laws. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video where I break down the exact duty to inform laws in all 50 states, including which states require you to immediately disclose and which states give you the right to stay silent. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it, because that information could literally save you from a felony charge in the wrong state. Let's talk about the states where you do have a duty to inform. Currently, there are roughly 18 states with laws requiring you to tell an officer you're carrying a firearm during a traffic stop. These include states like Louisiana, Michigan, Nebraska, North Carolina, and Texas, among others. In these states, you cannot simply invoke the Fifth Amendment and stay silent about your gun. You have a legal obligation to disclose. But here's what most people don't know. Even in duty to inform states, how you inform matters tremendously. Here's the smart way to do it. In a duty to inform state, keep your hands visible on the steering wheel. When the officer approaches, before they ask anything, you calmly say, "Officer, I need to inform you that I am a concealed carry permit holder and I have a firearm in the vehicle. How would you like me to proceed?" Notice what you did there. You fulfilled your legal duty to inform. You kept your hands visible so the officer feels safe. And you ask them how to proceed instead of making any sudden movements. This is how you comply with the law while minimizing risk to yourself. But here's the crazy part. Even in duty to inform states, your disclosure should be limited and factual. You don't need to tell them where the gun is unless they ask. You don't need to tell them if it's loaded unless they ask. You don't need to explain why you have it or where you're going or where you've been. Answer only what is legally required, nothing more. Every extra word is a potential problem. Now let's talk about what happens if the officer starts asking more questions. Where's the gun? Is it loaded? Why do you have it? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? Here's where those 5 words come back into play. After you've fulfilled any duty to inform requirement in your state, you can respectfully say, "Officer, I've informed you as required by law. For any additional questions, I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights." You draw a line. You've done what the law requires. Nothing more. Some officers will respect that immediately. Some will not. Some will try to intimidate you. They might say, "If you have nothing to hide, why won't you answer?" They might say, "This will go a lot easier if you just cooperate." They might even say, "I can get a warrant and make this a lot harder for you." Here's what you need to understand. These are psychological tactics. They're legal tactics, and they work on people who don't know their rights, but they don't work on people who do. Here's what you say if an officer pressures you. "Officer, I respect your position, and I mean no disrespect. I'm simply exercising my constitutional rights. If you believe you have probable cause to search my vehicle, you're free to do so, but I do not consent to any searches. I will comply with lawful orders, but I invoke my right to remain silent." This statement does several things. It's respectful. It makes clear you're not consenting to searches. It acknowledges you'll follow lawful orders, and it firmly establishes your boundary. Hey, here's something wild. 78% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. That means most of you are gambling with your freedom by not staying updated on these critical legal protections. Don't be part of that statistic. Join the community of informed gun owners who know their rights. Hit that subscribe button now. Let's address the elephant in the room. Some of you are thinking, "This sounds confrontational. Won't this escalate the situation?" I understand that concern, but here's the reality check you need to hear. Being polite but ignorant doesn't protect you. Being friendly but uninformed doesn't keep you out of jail. There are thousands of cases every year where cooperative gun owners end up charged with crimes because they talked too much, consented to searches they didn't have to consent to, or gave officers information that created probable cause. Here's a hypothetical example to show you how fast things can go wrong. Mike gets pulled over. He's nervous because he has his gun in the car. The officer asks about weapons. Mike says, "Yes, sir. I have a pistol in my backpack in the back seat." The officer asks, "Can I see your permit?" Mike says, "Sure," and reaches toward his backpack. The officer yells, "Stop! Keep your hands where I can see them!" Now Mike's adrenaline is through the roof. The officer orders him out of the car. During the search of the backpack, the officer finds the gun and also finds a CBD vape pen that Mike forgot was in there. In some states, CBD is legal. In others, it's not. Or maybe it's legal, but Mike can't prove it's under the legal THC limit. Now Mike's detained, his car is being searched, and he's potentially facing charges, all because he volunteered information and consented to a search. Could Mike have prevented this? Absolutely. If Mike had invoked his rights in a non-duty to inform state, the officer would have needed actual probable cause to search that backpack. A routine traffic stop for a broken taillight doesn't give them that. The Supreme Court has been crystal clear. Officers need either your consent, probable cause, or a warrant to search your vehicle beyond what's in plain view. And when you start volunteering information, you're giving them puzzle pieces they can use to build probable cause. Now here's the part nobody talks about. This is crucial. Even if you do everything right, some officers will still search your car. Some will claim they smell marijuana. Some will say you seemed nervous. Some will bring a K9 unit. Here's what you need to know. You cannot physically stop them. If an officer decides to search, you do not resist. You do not interfere. But you also do not consent. You clearly state, "Officer, I do not consent to this search." You repeat it if necessary. Why? Because if that search is later found to be illegal, anything they found can potentially be suppressed in court. But only if you never consented. If you said, "Sure, go ahead," you just made everything they find admissible. Let me give you the 3-part formula for any police encounter involving your firearm. First, fulfill any legal duty to inform if your state requires it. Second, keep all statements brief, factual, and limited to legal requirements. Third, invoke your Fifth Amendment rights for any questions beyond what's legally required. That's it. Those 3 steps will protect you in the vast majority of encounters. But what about building rapport? What about being a good ambassador for gun owners? I hear this all the time. We need to show officers that legal gun owners are the good guys. I agree with the sentiment, but here's the hard truth. The side of the road during a traffic stop is not the place for that conversation. Your job in that moment is to get through the encounter safely and legally. You can be respectful, professional, and courteous while still protecting your rights. Those things are not mutually exclusive. This information could literally be the difference between a traffic ticket and a criminal record. My next video breaks down the exact scripts to use in 15 different police encounter scenarios, including what to do if they ask to search, what to do if they separate you from your passenger, and what to do if they threaten to call a K9 unit. Subscribe now so you're prepared for anything. Here's something most gun owners never think about. Document everything. If you have a police encounter where you invoked your rights, write down everything that happened as soon as you can. What was the date and time? What was the officer's name and badge number? What did you say? What did they say? Did they search anyway? Did they threaten you? This documentation can be critical if you later need to challenge anything in court. Take photos of your vehicle's position, any damage, anything relevant. If your state allows it, consider getting a dash cam that records audio. These tools protect you when memories fade and stories change. Now let's talk about one more critical scenario. What if you're a passenger? If you're riding in someone else's car and you're carrying, do you have to disclose? This is where state laws get tricky. In some duty to inform states, the law applies to anyone carrying, whether driver or passenger. In others, it only applies to the driver. You need to know your state's specific law. But here's the general principle. If you're not legally required to inform, you invoke your Fifth Amendment rights, just like we discussed. If you are required to inform as a passenger, you follow the same protocol. Hands visible, clear statement, ask how to proceed. What about if you're carrying and the police come to your home? Different situation, same principles. If officers knock on your door, you're under no obligation to let them in without a warrant. If they have a warrant, comply fully, but do not answer questions beyond identifying yourself. If they ask about weapons in your home, you can invoke your Fifth Amendment rights. Your home is your castle, and the Fourth Amendment protections are even stronger there than in your vehicle. Here's the bottom line. Your constitutional rights exist to protect you. They're not just for criminals. They're not disrespectful to law enforcement. They're the foundation of our legal system. Officers take an oath to uphold the Constitution. When you invoke your rights, you're not disrespecting that oath. You're exercising the very freedoms that oath is meant to protect. Any officer who respects their oath should respect your rights. Let me leave you with this. Knowledge is useless without action. You now know the 5 words. I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. You know when to use them. You know how to use them respectfully. You know the duty to inform states require different approaches. But knowing isn't enough. You need to practice. Right now, before you need it, practice saying those words out loud. Practice the full statement. Officer, I respect your work and I'm happy to provide my license, registration, and insurance. However, I'm exercising my constitutional right to remain silent regarding any other questions. Say it until it feels natural. Because in the moment of stress, you will revert to what you've practiced. This channel exists to give you the legal knowledge that keeps you free and safe. If this video helped you, then help me reach more gun owners who need this information. Hit that subscribe button right now, share this video with every gun owner you know, comment below with your state so we can build a community resource. And remember, your rights are only as strong as your willingness to exercise them. Stay safe, stay legal, stay informed. I'll see you in the next video where we cover the 15 most common police encounter scenarios and the exact words to use in each one. Don't miss it.